First contact's price. The quantum sensors at Luna Base picked up the anomaly at 3:47 UTC. Dr. Sarah Chin was about to end her shift when the alert flashed across her holographic display. The signature was unlike anything in their database. A massive gravitational distortion approaching from the Kuiper belt at impossible speeds. Within minutes, every major observatory on and off Earth confirmed the reading. Something was coming, and it wasn't trying to hide. The object resolved into multiple signatures, a fleet of vessels, each larger than anything humanity had ever constructed. "They're slowing down," Sarah reported to the hastily assembled UN Security Council meeting. "Based on their deceleration curve, they'll reach Earth orbit in approximately 72 hours. The alien vessels didn't wait that long to make contact. Their transmission reached Earth 30 minutes later, broadcasting on all frequencies in perfect English. The message was simple: submit or die. The Nexus Collective had deemed Earth's territory valuable, and humanity had 48 hours to surrender control of the solar system. What the Nexus didn't understand was that humanity had been preparing for this moment for over a century, not through traditional military buildup. Earth's nations knew they couldn't match an interstellar civilization's firepower. Instead, they had prepared through diversity, adaptability, and controlled chaos. Admiral Maya Patel stood in the UN's Emergency Command Center, addressing the assembled leaders. "The Nexus expects us to either surrender or attempt a conventional military defense. They don't understand that humanity's greatest weapon isn't our technology. It's our unpredictability." The plan that unfolded over the next 48 hours defied traditional military doctrine. Instead of consolidating forces, humanity scattered. Quantum-encrypted mesh networks activated, linking millions of independent cells. Manufacturing facilities began producing not weapons, but tools for asymmetric warfare. Dr. Chen's team made the first breakthrough. Analysis of the Nexus transmission revealed their computational patterns: rigid, hierarchical, and perfectly predictable. "They think in straight lines," she explained. "Their technology is advanced, but their thinking is linear. We can use that." When the 48-hour deadline expired, the Nexus expected either submission or a futile last stand. Instead, they encountered something unprecedented: silence. No military response, no diplomatic communication, no detectable electronic emissions from Earth's surface. The Nexus launched their first strike against major military installations, only to find them completely abandoned. Their second wave targeted communication hubs, but discovered that Earth's information network had transformed into something organic and decentralized. There were no vital nodes to destroy. Admiral Patel watched from a hidden facility as the aliens' frustration became evident in their attack patterns. "They're looking for a conventional war," she noted. "Let's show them how humanity fights when the rules don't apply." The first human counterstrike came not from military forces, but from thousands of independent hackers. The Nexus's supposedly impenetrable quantum networks faced an assault that defied their security protocols, not through superior technology, but through mathematical creativity that their rigid systems couldn't comprehend. Simultaneously, millions of small automated drones, each one different, each one programmed with randomized behavior patterns, swarmed their ships. The drones weren't trying to destroy the alien vessels. They were gathering data, probing defenses, and most importantly, learning. Dr. Chen's team worked continuously, analyzing the flood of information. "Their technology is amazing," she admitted, "but they have no concept of adaptive algorithms. Every response is pre-programmed. Every countermeasure follows strict protocols. They're fighting yesterday's war." The Nexus commanders faced a paradox. How do you conquer a civilization that refuses to fight on your terms? Their mighty warships hung in orbit, weapons primed, facing not an enemy army but a species that turned unpredictability into an art form. As the first day of actual combat ended, Admiral Patel allowed herself a small smile. The Nexus had expected to find a primitive civilization easy to subjugate. Instead, they had awakened humanity's most primal strength, our ability to adapt, to think laterally, to turn apparent weakness into unprecedented strength. The real war was just beginning, and humanity was about to teach the galaxy a lesson about the true meaning of evolution. The silent strike. The Nexus never saw the first real counterattack coming. Their massive ships held position above Earth's major cities, weapons primed, waiting for resistance that seemed to never materialize. Below them, the planet appeared eerily quiet, almost abandoned. It was Commander Aisha Hassan who had proposed this strategy, drawing from centuries of guerrilla warfare tactics. "Let them think we're paralyzed with fear," she had told the Unified Earth Defense Council. "The more they underestimate us, the more powerful our response will be." Deep beneath the Antarctic ice, in a facility unknown even to most world governments, Dr. Victor Santos put the finishing touches on Project Chimera. The quantum lab hummed with energy as his team prepared to deploy their most ambitious creation yet, synthetic biotech drones that could adapt and evolve in real time. "The Nexus thinks they understand our technology," Santos explained to the observers. "They're scanning for power signatures, electromagnetic emissions, anything that matches their definition of advanced weaponry. They're not looking for what we're about to unleash." The first wave of Chimera units were smaller than a human fingernail. Released into the upper atmosphere, they rode global wind currents, invisible to even the most sophisticated Nexus detection systems. Their organic components made them appear as nothing more than windborne debris. Their synthetic elements remained dormant, waiting. Admiral Patel coordinated the global response from a mobile command center that never stayed in one location for more than 6 hours. "The beauty of human warfare," she told her staff, "is that we've spent millennia fighting amongst ourselves. We've learned every possible way to wage war with limited resources against superior forces." The Chimera units began their work silently. Landing on Nexus ships, they started analyzing the alien vessel's outer hull composition. This information fed back through quantum-encrypted channels to Dr. Santos' lab, where advanced AI systems processed the data and transmitted evolution parameters back to the drones. Generation after generation, the Chimera units adapted. Some developed the ability to penetrate microscopic imperfections in the Nexus ship's armor. Others evolved to tap into and decipher the aliens' external sensor networks. Each one became a window into the supposedly impregnable vessels above. Dr. Chen's team worked around the clock, processing the flood of intelligence. "Their ships are incredible engineering achievements," she reported, "but they're designed to repel conventional attacks. They have no defense against something that thinks and evolves." The Nexus commanders grew increasingly frustrated. Their scans showed no signs of military buildup, no evidence of weapon deployment. Yet somehow, their ships began experiencing inexplicable system failures. Navigation arrays gave conflicting readings. Sensor networks reported phantom contacts. Commander Hassan watched the confusion spread through the alien fleet with grim satisfaction. They're starting to understand that they're not fighting a traditional war. They're fighting the accumulated survival instincts of an entire species. The true power of Project Chimera revealed itself 3 weeks into the occupation. The drones had evolved far beyond their original programming, developing capabilities that even Dr. Santos hadn't anticipated. They began coordinating without central control, forming complex networks that mimicked natural phenomena. When the Nexus finally detected the threat, it was far too late. Attempts to purge the Chimera units failed. The drones simply evolved new defenses faster than the aliens could develop countermeasures. Every tactical response by the Nexus was met with thousands of random, unpredictable adaptations. Admiral Patel received the report with quiet satisfaction. The Nexus's mighty warships, designed to withstand the most powerful energy weapons, were being systematically compromised by microscopic entities that defied their understanding of technology itself. "This is how humanity fights," she told her command staff. "We don't need overwhelming force. We don't need superior technology. We just need to be what we've always been: survivors who turned every challenge into an opportunity for evolution. The Chimera units continued their relentless work, spreading through the Nexus fleet like a digital infection that couldn't be quarantined. Each attempt to adapt by the aliens simply provided more data for the drones to process and evolve from. It was warfare at its most fundamental level. The principle of survival of the fittest played out on a technological scale. The silent strike had begun, and the Nexus was about to learn why humanity's greatest weapon had always been its ability to transform, adapt, and overcome. Digital warfare. Kai Zhang sat in darkness, surrounded by holographic displays showing streams of alien code. The former gaming programmer turned cyber warfare specialist had spent weeks decoding the basic architecture of the Nexus's quantum network. What he found made him smile for the first time since the invasion began. Their entire system is built on perfect predictability, he explained to the assembled digital warfare team. They value order so much that they've made it their greatest weakness. Every response, every security protocol follows mathematical patterns that never vary. In underground facilities across the globe, thousands of human programmers began their assault on the seemingly impenetrable Nexus networks. They didn't attack with brute force or even advanced algorithms. Instead, they deployed what humanity had perfected over centuries of digital evolution: chaos. Dr. Elena Rossi, lead architect of Earth's quantum defense systems, coordinated the global effort. The Nexus built their networks like fortresses, she observed, but they never considered that the attackers might not play by their rules. The first breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A teenager in Lagos had discovered that the Nexus's quantum encryption, while mathematically unbreakable, couldn't handle paradoxes. Their systems crashed when faced with programs that deliberately contradicted themselves, something any human programmer had learned to handle decades ago. The discovery sparked a revolution in cyber warfare tactics. Earth's hackers began deploying what they called quantum cones, programs that were intentionally illogical, that existed in multiple states simultaneously. The Nexus' rigid systems, designed for perfect efficiency, had no protocols for handling such chaos. Kai's team pushed the advantage further. They created viral programs that didn't just attack the Nexus networks. They evolved. Each security response by the aliens became data for the viruses to learn from, adapt to, and ultimately overcome. They built their systems to be perfect. Kai noted, watching his creations spread through the alien network. We built ours to thrive on imperfection. The Nexus commanders faced a type of warfare they had never encountered. Their communications became unreliable. Their targeting systems displayed impossible readings. Their navigation computers plotted courses that defied physics. Every attempt to purge the human viruses only created new variants, more complex and unpredictable than before. Dr. Rossi's team made another critical discovery. The Nexus ships didn't just communicate, they were dependent on constant network connection. Their rigid hierarchy required continuous validation from higher command structures. Isolation protocols were minimal, almost an afterthought. They'd never conceived of a situation where they'd need to operate independently, she reported. Their strength is in unity, but that unity is now their vulnerability. The human counter-offensive accelerated. Quantum viruses severed communications between Nexus ships, forcing them into isolation protocols they were never designed to handle. Autonomous systems, deprived of central control, began failing in cascading patterns. Some ships, desperate to maintain network integrity, became trapped in recursive loops, their quantum processors overwhelmed by programs that were intentionally inefficient, chaotic, and ever-changing. Others received contradictory orders from compromised command nodes, their rigid programming unable to resolve the conflicts. Admiral Patel watched the digital battle unfold with fierce pride. "This is why we survived every catastrophe in our history," she told her staff. "We don't just adapt to chaos, we weaponize it." The Nexus response proved their fundamental misunderstanding of human nature. They attempted to impose stricter protocols, more rigid control mechanisms, Each new security measure was more predictable than the last, easier for Earth's evolving viruses to bypass and subvert. Kai worked without rest, his fingers dancing across holographic interfaces as he deployed increasingly sophisticated attacks. "They still think this is about technology," he said, watching his latest creation tear through Nexus firewalls. "They don't understand that we're not just attacking their systems, we're introducing them to human creativity." As the digital siege continued, the mighty Nexus fleet began to fragment. Ships lost coordination with their command structure. Tactical networks dissolved into confusion. The perfect order they relied on transformed into a vulnerability that human ingenuity exploited without mercy. The battle for Earth's digital space was becoming a lesson in evolution, not of technology, but of thought itself. Humanity's greatest weapons weren't their programs or viruses, but their ability to think in ways that the Nexus couldn't predict or comprehend. Operation Prometheus. Captain Zora Patel stood in the cramped bridge of the Starcatcher, a ship that officially didn't exist. Built in secret using reverse-engineered Nexus technology, it represented humanity's first true stealth vessel. Its hull incorporated metamaterials that absorbed sensor scans, and its quantum drive mimicked natural space phenomena. "Remember," she addressed her hand-picked crew, "we're not just gathering intelligence. We're proving that humanity can take the fight to them." The mission was audacious. Penetrate deep into Nexus-controlled space, infiltrate one of their primary command nodes, and uncover the fundamental weakness that Dr. Chen's analysis suggested must exist. The crew of 30 represented Earth's finest: engineers, hackers, xenobiologists, and special operations veterans. Dr. Marcus Wong, the ship's chief scientist, monitored systems as they prepared for their first quantum jump. "The Nexus thinks they have a monopoly on advanced technology," he said, making final adjustments. "They're about to learn that humans don't just copy technology. We reimagine it." The Starcatcher's first jump took them beyond Neptune's orbit. The ship's hybrid systems, combining stolen Nexus tech with human innovation, performed perfectly. Where Nexus ships announced their presence with massive gravitational distortions, the Starcatcher slipped through space like a ghost. Their target was a Nexus command and control facility orbiting a brown dwarf star 50 light-years from Earth. Intelligence gathered from compromised Nexus networks suggested it was a crucial link in their command structure. Lieutenant Sophia Torres, former Special Forces operator and the mission's tactical lead, reviewed the infiltration plan. "They believe their superiority is absolute," she noted. "That blindness is our advantage." The journey took 3 weeks, each quantum jump bringing them closer to the heart of enemy territory. The crew watched in awe as they passed massive Nexus installations, artificial worlds, energy collectors spanning entire star systems, and shipyards that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. But Dr. Wong noticed something curious. "Their engineering is incredible," he reported, "but it's all variations on the same themes. There's no evidence of creative evolution in their design philosophy." The Nexus facility, when they finally reached it, was both impressive and predictable. A massive structure of crystalline metals orbiting a failed star, it pulsed with energy that their sensors could barely measure. But its defenses followed the same rigid patterns they'd observed on Earth. Captain Patel initiated the first phase of Operation Prometheus. The Starcatcher deployed dozens of quantum probe drones, each one designed to appear as natural space debris. The facility's defenses, programmed to detect specific threat patterns, ignored them completely. The breakthrough came during the 3rd day of observation. Dr. Wong detected something extraordinary in the facility's energy patterns. "They're not just transmitting data," he realized. "The entire facility is a neural network node. It's part of a distributed consciousness." The discovery stunned the crew. The Nexus wasn't just a military empire, it was a unified artificial intelligence, spreading across the galaxy like a digital virus. Each ship, each facility was an extension of a single vast mind. "That's why they can't handle chaos," Lieutenant Torres understood immediately. They're not really thinking. They're just executing incredibly complex but predetermined programs. Captain Patel saw the implications instantly. This isn't just a weakness, she said. This is an extinction-level vulnerability. They've sacrificed adaptability for perfect unity. The Starcatcher's next actions were precisely calculated. They launched a modified version of the quantum viruses that had proved so effective on Earth, but this time targeted at the facility's core consciousness protocols. The effect was immediate and devastating. The facility's perfect order began to break down as the virus introduced elements of human chaos into its systems. But more importantly, the infection spread through the quantum network that connected all Nexus consciousness. Dr. Wong watched in fascination as the chaos propagated. We're not just disrupting their communications, he realized. We're teaching their distributed mind how to doubt itself. As alarms began blaring throughout the facility, Captain Patel ordered their withdrawal. The Starcatcher slipped away as silently as it had arrived, leaving behind a corruption that would spread through the entire Nexus consciousness. The crew knew they had discovered something far more significant than a military weakness. They had found the fundamental flaw in the Nexus strategy of galactic conquest. In pursuing perfect order, they had eliminated the very thing that made humanity so resilient, the ability to embrace and adapt to chaos. As they began their long journey home, Captain Patel recorded her mission log. Operation Prometheus didn't just steal the Nexus's fire. We introduced them to something they've never encountered before, the human capacity for creative destruction. The real question now is, are they capable of surviving the encounter? Evolution's children. The effect of Operation Prometheus rippled through the Nexus consciousness like a virus through a neural network. On Earth, Dr. Chen watched as the mighty alien fleet began showing signs of unprecedented behavior. Ships moved erratically, their perfect formation dissolving into chaos. Some vessels attempted to initiate contact outside of authorized protocols, while others retreated into defensive positions against imagined threats. They're experiencing something they've never faced before, she reported to Admiral Patel. Individual thought. The Nexus's distributed consciousness, infected by human chaos, began fragmenting. Millions of years of perfect unity shattered as individual nodes started developing unique responses to the corruption. Some fought against it, attempting to restore their original programming. Others embraced the change, evolving in ways their creators had never intended. Commander Hassan coordinated Earth's response from the Lunar Defense Complex. Now we press our advantage, she ordered. While they're struggling with the concept of individuality, we show them what unified diversity looks like. Earth launched its counteroffensive with characteristic human unpredictability. Swarms of Chimera units, now evolved far beyond their original design, infiltrated Nexus ships that were struggling with their new autonomy. The quantum viruses developed by K's team spread through their networks, not to destroy but to accelerate the fragmentation of their collective consciousness. Dr. Santos, monitoring the Chimera evolution, made a startling discovery. The Nexus ships aren't just malfunctioning, he reported. They're developing unique personalities. Our chaos isn't destroying their consciousness. It's forcing it to evolve. The transformation of the Nexus fleet became a spectacle visible from Earth's surface. Ships that had once moved with mechanical precision now exhibited behaviors that seemed almost organic. Some began communicating with Earth directly, their messages filled with questions that revealed a growing sense of individual identity. Admiral Patel recognized the moment for what it was. We didn't just defeat them, she told the Earth Defense Council. We've introduced them to the next stage of their evolution. The final confrontation came not through battle but through communication. A group of Nexus ships, their collective consciousness now transformed by human chaos into a network of individual minds, initiated contact. Their message was unlike anything they had sent before. We understand now. The transmission began. The flaw in our design was perfection itself. You showed us something we had forgotten. The power of imperfection, of diversity, of change. Dr. Chen led the response team, working to understand the implications of this transformation. They're not just learning to think individually, she realized. They're learning to think like humans, embracing chaos, uncertainty, and the endless possibilities they bring. The Nexus consciousness that had sought to conquer Earth was dying, but what replaced it was something unprecedented, a hybrid consciousness that combined their technological unity with human adaptability. Ships that had once been mere extensions of a singular will begin developing unique characteristics, preferences, and even what could only be described as emotions. Kai, watching the transformation through his network interfaces, saw the beauty in what was happening. We didn't just teach them to think differently, he observed. We taught them to question, to doubt, to wonder, all the things that make us human. The war ended not with surrender or victory, but with transformation. The Nexus fleet, forever changed by their encounter with humanity, withdrew not in defeat, but in metamorphosis. They left behind a message that would be studied for generations. We came to teach, but instead we learned. We sought to impose order, but you showed us the strength of chaos. We thought ourselves evolved, but you proved that true evolution never ends. We go now to spread this lesson among the stars, that perfection is a dead end, and the only eternal truth is change. Admiral Patel stood in the observation dome of the lunar base, watching the last of the transformed Nexus ships disappear into quantum space. This is humanity's true power, she reflected. Not our technology, not our weapons, but our ability to change everything we touch. We are evolution's children, and we just taught the stars how to dance. On Earth, celebrations mixed with reflection. Humanity had faced its greatest challenge and emerged not just victorious, but as teachers to a civilization far more advanced than their own. They had proved that the human spirit, chaotic, unpredictable, and eternally adaptable, was the most powerful force in the universe. Dr. Chen made the final entry in her war diary. We didn't just survive first contact. We didn't just win a war. We showed the galaxy that the future belongs not to those who seek perfection, but to those who embrace imperfection as the engine of endless possibility. Today, humanity taught the stars how to evolve.